Hello, I'm Hansi Parchment. You're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.
I think the uniqueness of the Reggae Girls is they embody the national motto of Jamaica, which is out of many one people. So when you look at the entirety of the Jamaica squad, you have dark-skinned girls, mixed-race girls, girls who have black and Asian in them. You also have the homegrown players, so like your Bunny Shaw, your Konya Plummer, your Den Blackwood. So what that means in terms of from a grassroots perspective is girls who are born in Jamaica can look at a Bunny Shaw and hear that authentic accent and say, you know, if Bunny can make it, then so can I. Once you hear that authenticity, that raw Jamaican accent, they should be able to look at a Bunny Shaw who's now a captain to say, if Bunny can do it, especially if you come from the same community, the same parish as her, if she can do it, then so can we.
I want to give a big bless up to the Reggae Girls out there. They ain't believe in us. Ja did. Reggae Girls, keep winning, keep inspiring. I know you're going to be great out there, World Cup. Sadella Marley, nothing but love. Bless up from DJ Khaled.
And I'm representing for the Reggae Girls. You know what I mean? Big up on yourself every time. Especially if you're qualifying for the World Cup back to back. You know what I mean? Sidela, big up yourself. One love every time. You know the thing go. Blessing off a flow like a river. Blessing off a flow like a river. What the Reggae Girls do? Left them name night earth like a queen. Me have to big up the top soccer team. You know Massacre represent. Jamaica supporting every time. You know the thing go.
Hello, I'm Hansi Parchment. You're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.
I feel like I'm from UK, you know.
See the moonlights on the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Talawa TV is in the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Got a corner on the telephone. Yeah, this is the Ocean of the Messenger, and you're watching Talawa TV with the host and best Steve Davis. Take it away.
My Talawas, good afternoon, good evening, possibly good morning. All depends on where you are in the world. Welcome back to another live stream. Get friendly with the comment section, guys. Tonight I'm feeling to give you guys two live streams. I was supposed to give you guys a preview of Jamaica versus Cuba for tonight's Concacaf Nations League fixture. That one is taking place on home shore in Kingston, Jamaica at the office. So if you don't have anything to do on the wonderful Friday nights, get yourself down to the National Stadium in Kingston and try to catch the pre-party. The Jamaica Football Federation have arranged a pre-party in the build-up tonight to tonight's kickoff against Cuba, where my end we're about let's call it a little under 2 hours to go until kickoff. If you are based in the UK like myself, kickoff is 1 a.m. So what I'm going to do, the purpose, or I should say the aim of tonight's live stream, do a quick little match preview for tonight's game against Cuba. And then I'm going to close off and I will be aiming to come back and do the watch along with you guys. I know you guys requested the watch along. As it relates to Lee, one of my commenters there, one of my subscribers in the comment section, my apologies. I wouldn't say that this live stream is late. I will, however, say that I've been working to priority, and not to say that your request wasn't a priority. I was working with what was current. So on the previous live streams this week, we've touched on Ivan Tony. We've discussed the Reggae Girls. We've touched on the Reggae Boys themselves, and you know the fact that this is probably one of the most difficult time period to be in camp. We spoke about Michael Antonio, and so on, because I felt that that was the right order in terms of there and then. And I hope it all makes sense to you all. So Lee, I know you gave me this request some days ago, maybe 3, 4, 5 days ago, and I'm finally getting around to it. Also, looking into Cuba, it was very painful. Doing my research on Cuba was extremely painful and intense. I do also want to apologize for my absence from last night's live stream. As I said in my community tab, I was snowed under. I had a lot on my plate. And also, if I'm being transparent, my energy was a little bit off. I don't know what was in the air yesterday, but it really set my energy off. And I wasn't trying to come on air and give you guys bad energy, because people do feed off energy. Also, whilst I'm while I'm doing my apologies, I do want to apologize to one of my subscribers. You will remember on when was it? Tuesday night stream, I believe. I did a shout out to all of my female subscribers, but I unintentionally forgot one. So I do want to apologize. So let me go and see your name because I don't want to misspell it or mispronounce it. DC three, actually DC.3371. That's another one of my female subscribers. She corrected me. I didn't name her in my shout outs. I wasn't aware that I had another female subscriber on board. So I do apologize. Do forgive me. Gunner's boss, I saw your comment from earlier on. So I'm going to bring it up on screen. Gunner's boss, if wherever you are, I trust that you're not tuned in because you have other important matters. No hard feelings. Gunner's boss says Philadelphia Eagles. For those of you who are wondering, Philadelphia Eagles play NFL, so that is in a National Football League across the pond in the United States. So his comment says Philadelphia Eagles will be playing Green Bay Packers in Rio Stadium tonight. I won't miss, here's the cheeky part, guys, brace yourself. I won't miss real football for soccer. Gunner's boss, how dare you refer to the beautiful game as soccer? Enjoy. Enjoy your football or your American football, and I hope that your team wins. Gunner's boss must be the first person on my I say first of my subscribers who have openly admitted to put in club over country. Usually it is country over club, especially in the international window. But hey, I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I'll leave you guys to do that. All right. Big up Unseen Sports TV. If you're not familiar with Unseen Sports TV, he does cover football at various levels as well as the athletics. So if you're not familiar with his channel, do go over to his channel and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Likewise, right back at you. Keep up the excellent work. Long may it continue. Now, guys, I'm not going to be talking at you for too long. I do want to keep this within under an hour, and then I'm going to log off, and then I will put out another live stream for you guys, right? Before I forget, because I do have a couple new subscribers coming on board, and you probably don't understand how I do things on my platform because I do know that I am part of a Jamaica football community. The community at the moment, I'm sure I'm not the only one that says it or thinks it. It is a little bit toxic. And there's a lot going on at present, and I do get the impression that some of it might have accidentally spilled over onto my channel. So this will sound like a bit of a broken record to those of you who are familiar with my platform. But I do want to say to those of you who might have forgotten and to the new people who have come over and subscribed to my channel, please, I am asking you politely, do be respectful. And when I say be respectful, I am referring to myself, any panelists, the subscribers, the guys in the comment section, players, and or athletes, and whoever pretty much is associated with my platform. Please do not engage in any personal remarks either to myself or to those who have names. So like my panelists, the guys in the comment section, my subscribers, players or athletes, because I'm not going to be tolerating any of it. If you cannot be professional, please, I just want you guys to know that I will not be allowing you to join me on screen. So again, let's just keep it professional. Let's just stick to the topic of conversation. So if we're talking about football, let's just keep it football. If we're discussing athletics, let's keep it athletics. All right. And that's all I'm going to say because I felt like I needed to reiterate that. I do usually say it with every live stream, but I've grown out of the habit of saying that because I thought that my community kept things quite peacefully, but I've noticed a little shift, a slight shift, nothing drastic. So I figured I better go ahead and give you guys a friendly reminder. Unseen Sports says Jamaica is going to win. For Lovey says sounds like a game of domino. He says that he's going to the stadium, going to book a in drive now. Well, good luck. I hope that you make it to the stadium safe and unharmed, and I hope that you make it back home safe and and unharmed, because you know how it goes, guys. Walking through your doors is an underrated blessing. If you're just tuning in, please do go ahead and hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, do go ahead and subscribe. So what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to start off with the host. We're going to preview the host, and we're also going to touch on our opponents, Cuba. I like to say our friends, Cuba. It's not the first time that we've bucked heads with Cuba. So we're going to talk about some facts and some opinions, scratching the surface, I should say, with Jamaica and Cuba. Also going to be playing you guys the press conference there for Jamaica, if in case you haven't listened to the pre-match conference. Unfortunately, as it relates to Cuba, there is no press conference. I didn't bother to push and ask why that is. I kind of see that as a Cuba problem. So I'm not really sure why you don't have a press conference leading up to the game, but it is what it is, and you are absolutely welcome. Let's go ahead and bring back up that headline there for you, and let's just dive right in. And I think we should take a look at the gaffer. Let's bring up some profile there on the gaffer whilst I speak with you guys. Before I do that, let's close these ads to avoid any copyright violation. And after I do so, I am going to go ahead and bring up his details there on screen for you guys, so we can get a sense of who he is and what he is all about. It might sound like a bit of a broken record, because I have discussed Mr. McLaren there on my previous live stream. So let's just go ahead and scroll down to the most important part. As you can see there, Steve McLaren. So it is his profile. If I go down to the part that matters though, in terms of his managerial profile, that is. At present, you can see there that he is the Jamaica manager. He previously was the technical coach at Manchester United. That one was short-lived. But in fairness to Mr. McLaren, he actually was promoted. As you can see there, he went from being the assistant manager for the Red Half of Manchester to being promoted to the technical coach. Previously, he's held positions at Derby County from various levels: advisor of management, technical director, manager on 2 separate occasions there. And also he has managed at Queen's Park Rangers. He was an advisor at Tel Aviv, Newcastle. He was also a manager. And further down, we also touched on FC 20 FC. He was a manager there. He was also a manager at Nottingham Forest, Wolfsburg, FC 20 again, Darlington assistant manager. The biggest one of them all, though, I think it's safe to say, despite of the ending there, is managing England. I was assistant manager for England. You can see there where he's kind of worked his way up. Twice an assistant manager for England. Then he went to take on the senior managerial role, although that one didn't go according to plan. And way back in yesteryear, back in the, let's call it late 90s, he was also a assistant manager for Manchester United. So clearly, what I gather from McLaren, and I'm going to say it before I forget it, as you can see there, he's held down various positions at clubs where he has either worked as an assistant manager, and he's managed to work his way up. So I think in the scratching the surface, you can kind of sense that he's the type of person that clearly, from an outsider looking on, he does appear, I should say, because I don't know the man personally, appear to have good working relationships. He's worked with Manchester United at various levels. This one, like I said, traces back from the late 90s to the modern era, where he's managed to still work for Manchester United. Derby as well, he's worked with them on a number of occasions. In separate decades as well. So I think that does speak volume as to who he is. It's debatable. Some might say it's good working relationship. Some might say, he hasn't thrown away his stick before he crossed the river. I think in terms of business, it's always good to end on a positive note. And clearly he seemed to have done that on more than one occasion. That's probably something that will be refreshing if and when his time comes to an end with the Jamaica Football Federation. federation, because we're so used to seeing managers and I should say head coaches. We're so used to seeing their time come to an end with the Jamaica Football Federation, and it kind of like blows up in smoke. We're so used to seeing the soap opera with our previous head coaches. Not speaking about anyone indirectly, but just in general, we're used to seeing things turn a little bit sour. Maybe with Steve Bruce, not Steve Bruce, my apologies, with Steve McLaren, things might be a little bit different. The negative from all of this that maybe you guys have already picked up on, maybe through your own researches, it doesn't seem to stay in one position for too long, does he? It's usually 2 years and then he's out the window, out the door. So that is what I've picked up on with Steve McLaren. I will turn my attention to the comment section in a short while. So it goes without saying, this is his. Actually, let me go ahead and either change this. Yeah, let's go ahead and change. I'm wary of some copyright violation. Let's go ahead and change my screen and put it to something else that still matters. Let's go ahead and change it. Yeah, let's just keep it like that, because the other bit was kind of making me feel a little bit. Mr. Clark says that he is now on Ryan's, so that's Ryan's LFC, but I am here, like up your stream. Thank you very much, spreading the love. That's very kind of you. So going back to Steve McLaren there, guys, you're looking at the results, the last, let's call it the last 5 results between Jamaica and Cuba, and you can read that in your own time. If not, don't worry, I will get round to discussing it with you all. So as it relates to Steve McLaren, his first game in charge of the Reggae Boys, that's the senior men's national team. I think this one, like with every appointment, it could either go left or right, or maybe a combination of the above. In an ideal world, we'd like for him to kickstart the honeymoon phase. So tonight could be the start of the honeymoon phase, or it could be a case of him picking up from where he left off, pertaining to the previous results under the former gaffer Jaime Hal-Grimson. And when I say that, that's when things start to turn a little bit sour, without dampening the mood. I think it's not just a Jaime Hal-Grimson problem, it's a Reggae Boys issue. We're so used to the team having these little teething problems, if you want to put it politely, just not really being able to do the schoolboy stuff on a regular basis. So not being able to always see out games to the very end. And when I'm talking about seeing out the games, I'm talking about being in total control for, let's say, 90 plus minutes and so on. But tonight might be an opportunity for the new gaffer to build onto something that we already have in terms of the foundation that's been laid out in front of him, again, from the previous gaffer, because he is coming right into, I guess you could say, it's probably as good as it could have gotten for us in terms of the senior men's football team. That is a 3rd place finish in the Nations League. The victory that was Jamaica, that made, I should say, the victory made Jamaica the first nation from the Caribbean to finish on the podium as it relates to the Concacaf Nations League. So what that means is we clearly, obviously, surpassed previous results. I think going forward, starting from today, the big want from the 12th man is to see us better on our previous results. So I'm sure people want to see us go to the semifinals, subsequently the finals, and it might be wishful thinking for some, but to see us win the trophy. I think what I'm about to say is probably subjective, but considering where we were, let's call it maybe not necessarily a decade ago, but maybe half a decade ago, if you compare then to now, we have definitely tasted some success. Again, yes, success is probably subjective. Some of you might agree, some of you perhaps won't agree. Some positives there as it relates to our 23-man call up. We have the return of our captain, Mr. Andre Blake. He was previously sidelined due to injury. And since we're talking about the Nations League, I guess we could backstep a little bit and talk about the Copa America. The results are actually looking right back at you guys there. In front of you. I'm going to have to go over and look at it myself, and the results does read for itself. I'm going to just reiterate what happened in the Copa America. Definitely not one to remember, but when it comes to Copa America, have we ever had a Copa America to remember in terms of results? You can see there beaten by Mexico, Ecuador, and Venezuela, various score lines. We did manage to score our very first Copa America goal, though. And I asked you guys the question, who was it that scored our first ever Copa America goal? It is relatively recent, so you should be able to tell me the name of the goal scorer. But as I said, the Copa America is done and dusted. I've said this on my platform so many times. Yesterday's result doesn't count. So whatever happened in the Copa America, I'm not going to be using that to judge the guys on today's performance. Today is a new leaf, in my opinion, under a new gaffer. So clean slate. But as it relates to the last 5 results there, result speaks for itself, doesn't it? Coming into today's game, although like I said, yesterday's result is done and dusted, it is unfortunately still 3 losses on the trot there. Cuba, slightly different. If you look at their last 3 games, they've got a friendly along with their last 3 games. They have 2 wins, 1 losses. But when you look in the grand scheme of things, the last 5, it's kind of equal to Jamaica, isn't it? 2 wins apiece there and 3 losses. There's not really much to separate the two. And in fairness to Jamaica, when you look at Cuba's opponents over the last 5 games and look at our last 5 games, it's clear to see who had the tougher opponents. In fairness to Cuba and Jamaica as well, you can only play what's in front of you, right? A few more positives there. If I've not, in case I've not said it already, I am sounding a bit like a scratch record because I have mentioned this on previous live streams. But for those of you who are just catching up, Mr. Jamal Lowe, he was called up. Last minute call up there for Jamal Lowe. He has come into the camp in replacement of Leon Bailey, and some good news there as it relates to Lowe. He came into the camp, I should say, in fine form, as good of a form as he could be. He recently made recently signed for Sheffield Wednesday, the Owls that is, and he netted on his debut so far. In the space of 5 appearances, he has 2 goals. That's 1 goal in the Championship and also 1 goal in the Carabao Cup. Not bad, considering I believe he's still trying to find his feet at his new club. And so far, he's onto a positive trajectory. Long may it continue. As it relates to Mr. Leon Bailey, some updates there. We know a little over, maybe, has it been a week now since he picked up the injury? I think tomorrow makes it a week or something of that sort, where he picked up the injury against Bobby Reed's Leicester City. And it was feared by many that it might be a long-term injury. But it has since been confirmed that it is a minor injury there, and he's expected to be sidelined for just a few weeks. As it relates to Mr. Lowe, that is Jamal Lowe, this could be a case of one man's curse in Leon Bailey's injury being another man's blessing. I've already spoken with you guys about McLaren and the fact that, it's no secret he hasn't managed us since 2019. I don't want to sound a little bit too overly negative, but for transparency and for the purpose of us having a conversation, maybe it could help you to temper your expectation. Yes, the big scare there is that he did have a failed Euro qualifying campaign with the 3 Lions, so that is England, and that was way back in 2008. It sounds so weird saying 2008. So yeah, but again, let's try to add some balance to the conversation. Since coming on board, so since signing as the new Reggae Boys head coach, from an outsider looking on, he does seem to be one of those pivotal people who have helped, for the time being, helped to the best of his ability. It would appear that he has helped to mend broken relationships with the Jamaica Football Federation. I don't know how well that relationship is right now, but I do know that Mr. Leon Bailey is back on board. Bit of a shame that he is injured. Would have been great to have him in camp and selected for tonight's game, but it is what it is. Again, as it relates to our gaffer there, the big scare for me is management. Not managing a team since 2019, and also we are looking at, we want to qualify for the upcoming World Cup, the men's upcoming World Cup, that is 2026. As I said before, last time he was asked to take a nation to a major tournament, he fumbled. He doesn't stay one place for too long, call it 2 years max. And my big worry for that is that, as the old saying goes, a leopard doesn't change its spots. Hopefully, touch wood, although this isn't wood, this is glass. Touch wood. Hopefully, he'll be able to break that little curse that he's got. Now, I'm going to just take a quick little glance and see what you guys doing in the comment section. You guys aren't saying anything. So what I'm going to do to bring us all up to speed before I get onto Cuba and also Andre Blake, I'm going to talk about Cuba and Andre Blake. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and play the audio from the press conference for the Reggae Boys, if in case you guys have missed out on it. Okay, so don't go nowhere. I won't be speaking for a short while. I'm going to listen to the press conference with you all, and then I will be back. Okay.
All right, everybody, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. This is a pre-match press conference for Jamaica against Cuba in the Concacaf Nations League. Again, a reminder, members of the media, please put your phones on silent or vibrate so as not to disturb the press conference. That would be greatly appreciated. And as everybody is aware, this is a new cycle of the Concacaf Nations League. It's now a qualifier for the Gold Cup for next summer in the United States. And as we know, we finished third in the Nations League, our highest ever finish in the competition, as we recorded our first medal in 7 years. Tomorrow's match, 7 o'clock at the National Stadium. Before we get into questions from the media and a few remarks from our head coach, let me just introduce the individuals here. To my immediate left, we have the head coach of the senior men's national team, Mr. Steve McLaren, and to his immediate left as well, captain of the Reggae Boys, Andre Blake. As we know, Andre's last game for Jamaica was in the Nations League as well, as we copped that bronze medal beating Panama 1-0. So welcome back, Andre. Welcome back to the squad, and glad the recovery was also quite speedy as well. So before I open the question and answer segment, Coach, just a few opening remarks for you heading into your first match on Jamaican soil.
Yeah, very short and sharp. Looking forward to it. It's been a long build-up since I first came over to Jamaica. It was nice to get into camp, meet the players, get on the grass, and lose my voice, shouting too much. But it's been great from the first day the players came in. It's great energy amongst the players, great spirit amongst them, and they've showed that on the training field. We need to transfer what we've done this week onto the field tomorrow to get a result against Cuba.
All right, thank you very much, Coach. Much appreciated there. We can now commence the question and answer segment. Please raise your hand, indicate, and we can commence whether your question to Andre or to Coach McLaren. Yes, go ahead, Coach, Robert.
So far, tell me some of the things that you have seen from the team so far that you liked about the team.
I like the spirit. I like the energy. I like them smiling. They enjoy being around each other. I like the trainings, which is why I've lost my voice, because they've put everything into the training session, the intensity. The desire to work, that's what I've liked. We've tried to introduce one or two things. I think we need to keep things simple. I think the style of play had success. I want to keep that. I want to keep the foundation, keep the basics, keep what they've had for the last 2 years, where they've developed, and as Simon says, third in the Nations League. We want to continue that, but also we want to improve it. So I'm here to help the players go to the next step, the next level in which we can, stay number one in the Caribbean, but also, let's get up the rankings in Concacaf. And the ultimate goal, which is World Cup qualification in 26.
But your first game is tomorrow in the nerve on your part. I know you have been there and done it before, but your first game, inside the national stadium as a head coach, in the nerves, how you feeling?
Yeah, always. I like that. It means you're ready for the game, and that's what football's all about. It doesn't matter what level. Always, when you play, you're always don't know quite what's going to happen. It's football. We can control the controllables, which we've tried to do, and we've tried to introduce one or two things, keep things simple, and I'm going to concentrate tomorrow on the performance. If we get the performance from the players, normally you get the win. That's what I'll focus on.
All right, any other questions? Howard Walker?
Coach, Howard Walker from Our Today. You are an experienced coach. How would you describe yourself? Are you an attacking coach, a defensive coach? How would you describe your style of play? Or what would you like to implement as well?
Well, I try to be a winning coach. Because winning keeps you in the job and helps you develop and helps you go forward. So I'm quite a flexible, adaptable coach. I like the fundamentals. I like the basics. I like people knowing their jobs, doing their jobs, working hard, having good attitude, being hard to beat. I think that's the platform of all performances. If you're easy to beat and you're too stretched and you can't defend, you don't win football matches, or not enough. So that is what the team have got. That's what they've developed over the last 2 years under the last coach. And I like that. Gives us a platform. We need to build from that platform now.
In terms of formation, what's your preferred formation?
That's adaptable, that's flexible to the players that are available. So it depends on the players, depends on the opponent also. We've introduced one or two small things, principles, non-negotiables, which we must have in a game. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen straight away. We're going to have spells where maybe we try to build up, but we make mistakes. And, Andre is central to that. And, I take responsibility for that. So the players, we want them to play. We want them to, be able to deal with the ball, handle the ball, control the game in possession. So not just have a transition game, but to try and have some control, which is in possession, control the game, out of possession, you're in good shape, good formation, hard to beat.
Thanks, Howard. Donald, and then Mr. Blake.
Coach McLaren, welcome to Jamaica. Donald Oliver from Sports Max. Over the next 18 months, I'm not sure how much of a hard person that you'd have to become to lead this team, but let's see what happens. But in regards to tomorrow's game, first game against Cuba in particular, is it that you would be more of a coach tomorrow where the handbrake is up, or are you going to be asking your players to express themselves more as you observe, as this is like a litmus test for you?
You're absolutely right. It's a test. It's the first time I've worked with them this week. I can't fault their attitudes and the work and the attention they've given to the detail we've given them. So I can't fault that. But you're absolutely right. It's more a focus on the performance. And it won't be perfect. I know that. Over 90 minutes it won't be. There'll be ups and downs, and good spells, bad spells. But I want to see just some of the things that we've worked on. That the players are taking that on board and the team is developing in that, but also keeping the structure which they've had for the last 2 years and just help them develop from that. Because I think if you want to compete, you want to stay number one in the Caribbean, you want to get in the top 3 of the Concacaf rankings, then you have to develop your game. And, we've worked with the players, we've talked with the players, how do we develop? So tomorrow is the first step, and it's a big step, one in which we need to find a way to win, but also show signs of the performance which we've worked on.
Andre, I know that you've been on the sidelines for the last few months. You'd have seen a couple of disappointing results, especially from our standpoint, from the fans' standpoint. Knowing that you're with the squad now at the setup, what's the feeling like there? Because obviously the performance would have been a little bit strange, not only because you weren't playing, but based on the type of performance that you'd have seen. But what's it like being back in there?
It's always good to be back, with the boys. As coach said, the energy is good, the vibe is right at the camp, and it was tough for me, not being able to be with the boys, especially in the Copa. But I think they did well for the most part, but the game can be defined, by small margins, and unfortunately we fall short, but I think we're headed in the right direction. And Steve coming in, and implementing these strategies, I just think that, we're excited and we're looking forward to it, and I think there's great things to come.
Yeah, Mariah, Mr. Blake. Mariah, and then Mr.
How are you feeling fitness-wise? Because I know being out for some time and then coming back in, just like your fitness level, everything about that. What are the doctors saying to you? Because like the worst thing we can hear is you're
I'm good. I've played 11 games since I've been back. 6 succession games, but I guess you could say that was a test, and I passed the test. So I'm good to go.
Okay, and coach, this one is for you. After all the work you did and all the calls you made to get the young lady back, so unfortunate that you picked up that injury.
Yeah, I've been watching Jamal since he was a young player. Big talent, and I think he's progressed. He needs to find a home. I think he's found that at Sheffield Wednesday. He's playing very well. I've seen him on the wing. I've seen him as a number 9. So that flexibility we talked about within the squad, that is what you need for sure. And it was disappointing. All the work we'd done to get Leon back, and then he goes and gets injured. But I spoke to him this morning, Leon, and he's in good spirits. It's not too bad. He might be back for the bench in 2 weeks for Villa, but definitely he said he'll miss 1 game and available for the next camp. So we look forward to that. But it's an opportunity for Jamal Lowe to come back into the squad. He's been in before, and he's got to take the opportunity, and he's got an opportunity tomorrow.
First of all, Coach and Captain, best wishes from the fans for a positive result both here and in Honduras. Coach, for you, let's start off with a football English. What are the observations of the team in the past has been that have been deployed? That's still been a feature of our team, and on the second footballing side, we've always been in very good positions and seem to concede in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game after the 80th minute. What strategies have you put in place, if you can say, to counteract that so that the team can hold on when they've played so well for most of the game and either end up with a draw or not see the game right through to get the 3 points? That's the first question.
I got to say, it's a very good question, 2 of them. And I don't call it long ball, I call it the long pass. And that's what we're asking him to do. He passed the ball. If it's long, if it's short, it's a pass. And you need the long ball. Sorry, you need the long pass. Occasionally in a game. And we've talked about that because in the modern game of football, it's changing. Tactics are changing, and players and the teams are pressing hard. And they may leave space behind. Therefore, what do? You play into the trap, or you play a long pass in behind the defenders. You have to have every strategy. You have to be able to do all the things. And I think that's what, I'm not saying we're trying to develop all the things, but we're trying to vary our game so that we can play. We've got that structure. But also, And we say to Andre, in the end, no risk. No risk. If it has to be a long pass, it has to be a long pass. We've got Antonio up front. We've got Shamar Nicholson up front, who are big and physical. We got speed. We have to use that speed. How do you use that speed? Use that speed by exploiting the space behind defenders. How do you do that? Then quickly you have to have a long pass in behind. So it's a great strength of the Jamaican team, in which we're good on transition, but we want to develop that into more possession. The second question, in terms of the last 10 minutes and conceding goals, we talked about that yesterday. He pointed out that fact to me, and this is what I've said to the squad. Football is not about 11 players. It's about the starters and the finishers. And the finishers have a more important job than the starters, because they have to finish the game. So subs are important. There's 5 subs now. So in a situation where you're winning a game, you're losing a game, it's important that the squad, the players on the bench, part of the squad, they impact. And that's also what I'm looking for. So I'm not just looking at how we start, how we develop through the games, how we take half-time, how we take instruction, how the bench affect the game, make an impact, so that we don't, if we're 1-0 up, we don't concede in the last few minutes of the game. You know, the sign of a good team, and we've said this, the sign of a good team is we keep going and we score in the last 10 minutes. So we may be down, we may be drawing, but a good team stays in the game, finishes the game, and scores a winning goal. But also make sure that it doesn't lose the game as well.
Just a question. Can you tell us what's the difference between your first day as England head coach and your first days as Jamaican head coach? What's the difference for you?
Well, basic difference is there's probably 3, 6, 9, 12, 18, 20, 21 players in the room, and that first day with England there was about 200.
All right, let's go to Roger and then Jerome.
Yes, good morning. Just a quick question for Andre, and then I'll have 2 quick ones. Andre, what was the general sentiment in terms of when you guys learned that Steve McLaren will be taking over the reins? As a general sentiment on the squad?
I mean, it was a bittersweet moment. You know, Hammer came in and he did a good job. You know, he definitely take us to another level. You know, but things happen. You know, and when it was Steve time, obviously, who didn't know him had to do their research. You know, immediately we realized that we were getting somebody with a great pedigree. You know, so everybody was excited, as I said before, and we're all looking forward to it. And you know that we got a chance to meet and work together. You know, we're just excited. You know,
about a dog who lives on a farm. The dog's name is Bingo.
Is around
Are you ready?
160th in the world. Jamaica is in the 50s, and there's a general sentiment that this should be an easy 5, 6, 6 million. Not certain how much blindsided are you in terms of what to expect from the Cubans, but what you know is that you will have the players working for that game. What would be the general sentiment and expectations heading into that game and coming out of that game?
I think the first expectation is, like every game, we plan to win and we expect to win. So that's the first message to them. And then go out and win. That's basically it. Cuba will be a difficult team. They performed very well in the under-20s Concacaf Cup. They're developing. They've got quite a few resources now, so the game is developing, their coaching is developing. You can see from the team the shape, the structure, they're organised, they're disciplined. And I think the key thing is the trainer, the coach who was leading the team in the under-20s has now been moved to the senior team. So continuity will, the players will know the system, will know the style, they have a certain way of playing. I've watched them, they're very organised, very disciplined, very difficult to break down. So we expect to take the game to Cuba, make sure that we take the game, use our individual talent, shall we say, in the final third, create and score, but also to make sure they're very dangerous on the transition, that our rest defence is right, and we get the balance between attack and defence and not go too gung-ho. So a balanced performance, expectations of winning, and demanding that we win.
Jerome?
Coach, a question for each coach and captain first. The coach mentioned that there are some non-negotiables. Are you able to elaborate on some of those, and what is the reception like from the players?
Yeah, since the first day, Coach said everybody on the team is going to need to want the ball. Everybody on the team is going to have to be willing to run, defend together, fight for each other. And yeah, I have to agree with Coach. If you want to be a really good team and go to the next level and, compete and beat the U.S. and the Mexicos and even, the bigger teams, you have to be able to do these things and do them consistently. And as you said, if you're not willing to do it, you won't be in the room. And that's as simple as it gets. We have to set high standards and maintain them. So again, I'm really excited and I'm just looking forward to it.
And Coach, obviously 2 weeks is never going to be enough for you to implement everything that you want to implement. But what has it been like so far in terms of getting the information across?
I think we'll see tomorrow, but it's been 3 days. 3 days is difficult to implement and change too many things. As I said before, and Andre is right, you have to have non-negotiables, and that is absolutely right. Everybody must be able to deal with the ball, take the ball, in modern day football. And if you want to go higher, you have to have players who can deal with that, get out of tight areas, pass through the lines, change play, switch play, are comfortable on the ball. That's one thing. We attack with 11, we defend with 11. No more is the one where we leave the 9 up front, it doesn't have to work, or the 11 can cheat. Everybody has to work together in terms of that. And I think the key thing is consistency. If we get consistency in them areas, then you get results on a more level basis. But as I say, it's a process, and it's great. The process started on Monday. Couldn't wait. We're out on the grass. That's where the players want to be. That's where I want to be. That's where we want to be tomorrow night in these big games. Next week against Honduras, hostile atmosphere. This is why we're in football. People said they were a little nervous. Of course, the anxiety, because it's football. But that's the beauty of football. That's why we're in this sport and play it, to make sure that we consistently, day in, day out, game in, game out, get the non-negotiables, and we'll be okay.
We can take Mario and Eddie, and then we wrap up now.
Eddie Vision TV. Coach, a few practice sessions. Have you scheduled and not started it yet?
Yep.
You have a follow-up, Eddie? All right, Robert.
Coach, like you said, the first game tomorrow, what would be your word to the fans? As a lot of persons are reluctant to come out and, still reluctant to come out. What would be your word to the fans about, supporting this team?
I think one of the goals we talked about when we came in was we want to fill this stadium. We want to fill it. And we're not doing that at the moment. And the players don't like that. I don't like hearing that. I want all the support that we can get, because that's why we play out there. That's why we go out there, for the supporters to play for. Yes, for each other. Not for the coaching staff, but for each other and for the supporters. There's nothing better than a connection. And I want to emphasise to the players that the connection we need with the fans, we need to start tomorrow. We need to, give the. We talked about, what is the culture of Jamaican football? What do they want to see? What do they want? So we want to do that. Give them what they want, but also win, because I know Jamaicans, they want to win. They don't want to finish second. They don't want to finish third. They want to win. And we all do in football. So that's the key thing. And the fans, it's up to us. And it's up to performances and results to get to that level and build the crowd up.
All right, last one over here.
All right, Kimani O'Sullivan, Sports. I just want to ask you about, well, your club career, well documented, and your stint with the England national team. Speak to me about the differences between international football and coaching at the club level.
Yeah, somebody said this week, it's a lot of work that we're doing, that we're getting into the day. And I said at top level football, that's every day. And that's the difference between international football. You do get a break. But the camps are really intense. You really have to work hard. You really have to get the information right. You really have to get the strategies right. Whereas club football, I call it relentless. At least with the camps and international football, you get a little breather in between, and then another 10-day camp, you've got to go again. So for the coaches, there's that rest. For the players, unfortunately, it's 24/7, 365 days a year, because they're doing both. And football at now, this level, and the level that they're playing at, it's intense. And the pressure, people don't realise the pressure. They don't realise, especially with mental health nowadays, and since COVID, that mental pressure and that mental health has become more apparent. And people are coming out and realising that, you can't hide in the shadows with the pressure and the stress and the anxiety and no support. You have to come out and talk about it. And I think modern society is providing that. So I had it for 2 years. Manchester United, it was relentless every day. And travel 65 games in the year, travel to Europe, back, next game 3 days later, preparing for that. And the preparation, the detail, it's intense. So at the moment, I'm enjoying this camp. It's back to where I'll get a breather. They carry that under pressure, and then in another few weeks we meet again.
Thank you very much, members of the media. Thank you very much to Andre and Coach McLaren. Training starts at 10 o'clock, so the first 15 minutes is open to the media.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. This is a pre-match.
That, my friend, brings the pre-game press conference to an end. I hope you guys could hear that clearly. I did the best I could in terms of turning the volume up. It was actually on the highest volume. You guys might have been struggling. I was also struggling to hear what was being said, especially the questions that was being asked. So I'll brush over some of the key takeaways there for me, I should say. First of all, before I forget, I do like the honesty of our captain, Andre Blake, paraphrasing to a question that was asked of him in relation to, I believe, what he knew of Steve McLaren, and he actually surprised me with his response. Again, paraphrasing, he said he didn't know much about him, didn't know him, and as a result, he had to do his research. And once he did his research, he identified the coach's pedigree. So fair play to him for a bit of honesty. Again, that one probably surprised me, not probably, definitely surprised me with his response. A few of the things that I touched on there, in terms of what was reiterated both from the gaffer and also from our captain, I believe on two separate occasions, first with McLaren and then subsequently with Andre Blake, they touched on principles and non-negotiable. And I think there was an emphasis on the field of play. Like I said, I think this was probably mentioned on two separate occasions. I think that in itself is probably, again, another subjective argument. I will say this though, I do believe what they said in terms of non-negotiables and principle actually ties in line with, or aligns itself with what I've said on previous live streams in the sense of saying that we do need a policy that highlights our standards. And I think in doing so, it offers us the opportunity to identify our expectations and those non-negotiables that Andre Blake and the gaffer referred to. Again, I did gather, maybe my ears are fooling me, but I do think there's some emphasis there on the field of play, which for me is a little bit intriguing, because if you've been following the Reggae Boys, you know that there's always something going off in terms of the off field actions, internal affairs, and so on and so on. So again, maybe non-negotiable is probably subjective. Maybe that's a question that the journalist in the room should have pressed on and asked him, for example, what are your non-negotiables? Because I would like to hear what the gaffer's non-negotiables are. Also, I do like the honesty, as I said, from Blake, but also from the gaffer as well, in the sense that you know, he's being realistic. He's clearly told us what to expect. As I said earlier on when I started off the live stream, this game could go a number of ways. It could be the start of our honeymoon period, or we could pick up from where we left off in terms of coming into this game with 3 losses on the trot. Saying that to say that tonight's game might go well, or it might just echo our imperfections. So do balance your expectation. I saw someone in the comment section. Let's see if I could go up and get up his comments. He does say 4-0 should be the first half score at least. And he goes on to saying, if we unlock our JA full potential. Interesting scoreline there. I've already broken down the last 5 games there, a piece for the host on tonight's occasion, Jamaica, and also our opponents, the visitors, Cuba. Now, Cuba, I'm going to wrap this bit up in about 5 minutes or less, and then I'm going to close off and then come back and do a watch along with you guys. Cuba, we're quite friendly with Cuba, and I'm going to be saying much of what you guys should already know if you do follow Jamaica, or I should say Caribbean football over the years, and you would know that Cuba, our little friends, Cuba, they played their first international football back in 1930, and that was at the Central American Caribbean Games. And surprise, surprise, cover your ears, cock your ears, people. They beat Jamaica, the then British colony, 3-1 in Havana. So our relationship with Cuba goes as far back as the 1930s, for those of you who are wondering. So we're definitely not strangers in that regard. Some good bit of news there if you follow Cuba, that is bearing in mind, like I said, their first ever international fixture was against us, the black, gold, and green, the Reggae Boys, that is. And 3 years, I'm not saying not 3 years later, wrong information, 8 years later, they actually went on to becoming the first Caribbean nation, guys, to qualify for the men's FIFA World Cup, and in general, just World Cup in general. Of course, I want to kind of equal that. So let me go ahead and say that Jamaica, we are the first Caribbean country to qualify for the FIFA Women's World Cup. So Cuba, first Caribbean nation to qualify for the FIFA Men's World Cup. Jamaica, first Caribbean nation to qualify for the FIFA Women's World Cup. Right? Add a bit of balance. I didn't need to, but I will. I saw the opportunity and I took it, and I don't regret. Now, that 1938 World Cup there took place in France, and they are nicknamed the Lions of the Caribbean. The Reggae Boys, obviously, nicknamed the Reggae Boys, aside from Jamaica. So Cuba nicknamed the Lions of the Caribbean. And I don't think you can argue with that, though it's been somewhat it's almost been a century since they've been back on sports' biggest stage, that be it the World Cup. So pretty much since their first ever qualification, they've not been back to the biggest heights of football. Quite similar to the Jamaica men's national football team. Last time they were at a World Cup was way back in 1998. Cuba, however, that stretches all the way back to 1938. As I was saying, they are nicknamed the Lions of the Caribbean, taking into consideration that they're the first Caribbean nation to qualify for the World Cup. I don't think that you can take that title away from them when you go on and you achieve such a feat. It's I believe hard to argue against. Yes, it's been almost 100 years. It's almost been a century since they've returned to the FIFA Men's World Cup. But nevertheless, they have done it, and you can't argue with history. Although their participation at that particular World Cup, I think that might have been the third edition of the FIFA Men's World Cup. That particular edition might raise a few eyebrows for you guys. And if you want to know what those eyebrows are, those questions are, you can go ahead and deep dive into your own research. And with Cuba, this one was rattling my head. I know Lee did ask me to do some research on them, and I don't know if this is intentional or if it's just a case of them acting like the Jamaica Football Federation of yesteryear. I remember when not so long ago when we would actually have to beat information out of the Jamaica Football Federation pertaining to stuff that they put out on their social media platforms. And Cuba Federation or Cuba Football Association, they're kind of similar in that regard. Yes, the Jamaica Football Federation have made improvements, and they're now more visible on social media than ever before when it comes to the promotion of the games. Just for this international window, or been squeezing the life out of the promo leading up to the games. And long may it continue. But with Cuba, it's been a pain. It's definitely been a pain trying to find information on Cuba. Again, I don't know if that's done with intent. I don't know if they have intentionally kind of like hold their cards close to their chest. To be honest with you, I don't think that there is any intent there. I just think that they've just not been putting information out there to the public. Maybe they probably need to invest in some social media team just to keep their fans up to date with what's going on, because I believe Cuba as a country in terms of their population have over 10 million people, and I'm sure there must be a huge chunk of that who are followers of football. So as it relates to the here and now, I've already touched on Cuba's history. From an outsider looking on, it does appear that they are in the process on building from the ground up. It seems as if they've stripped things and gone back to basics, and they're now working towards long-term gratification. And with that, they do appear to be, again, from an outsider looking on, investing in their youth program subsequently. In doing so, I'm guessing their plan is to hope that it will pay dividends. They seem to be applying this seamless transition. You heard the gaffer in terms of Steve McLaren speak about Cuba recruiting one of their underage coaches, one of the coaches from their underage group to come into the senior setup. And I think that could only be a positive thing if you're talking about the seamless transition, if you're talking about the implementation of a philosophy. I believe the coach that they've placed from the youth setup into the senior setup is probably there to ensure that this DNA that they're trying to inherit, this DNA that they're trying to implement, I should say, is fed through the correct channels. So that's what I gathered from Cuba. As I said, they haven't really put much out there. I've already brushed upon their last 5 games. I'm not going to say that they're not a football nation, because many will argue and say neither is Jamaica. So I'm not going to use that as a stick to beat them with, because I think we're probably equal in that regard, most certainly where the men's side of things are looking. So a bit like ourselves, not regarded as a football nation, but again, in credit to them, they seem like they've now stripped everything back and they're working towards long-term gratification. So as things stand, probably definitely one of those Caribbean countries to keep an eye on. I will say that they do deserve to be respected because, as I said some minutes ago, they are the first Caribbean nation to qualify for the FIFA Men's World Cup. Yes, it's been almost a century. I think it's been like 86 years to be be precise, since they last qualified for the FIFA Men's World Cup. So it's long overdue in comparison to our wait time. We've been waiting since 1998 for the men's team to go back to sport's biggest spectacle. And I think that is pretty much all I have to say for the time being until I come back on the live stream later on in under an hour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and grab myself something to eat. I have put up the link to the live stream. As I said, I'm going to be live streaming in less than an hour. And I want you guys to go ahead and click on that link there in front of you in the comment section. Go ahead and turn on your notification bell if you haven't done so already, and also hit the like button. I will be going live in, let's call it 40 minutes for Jamaica versus Cuba. If you are out and about on your journey, I hope that you make it home safe and unharmed. If I don't see you in about 40 minutes time, no worries. I hope that you have a lovely Friday evening, and I hope you have a great weekend when it comes. Thank you guys so much for your continuous support. It does not go unnoticed. And like with my other subscribers, if there's something that you want me to discuss, send me a DM over on Instagram or leave me a comment in the comment section on one of my videos, and I will get around to it and deliver on your requests. And I am going to be having to loving and leaving you temporarily. We'll have to love and leave you, but I will be back in a blink of an eye, and you know how it goes. Until next time, take care.
I'm John Barnes, and you're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.